Hey everybody, it's Leroy from Leroy Gaming, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Finally, with the release quickly approaching, they have announced the end game, and the good news is that we are going to get it right off the bat. We don't have to wait for their first iteration of endgame. They are calling them Chaos Chambers. Now, if you've ever played Diablo 3, these are basically Nephilim rifts. So what these are going to be randomized dungeons. The way it's going to work is that there's going to be basically at release 60 different kind of room layouts, and when you go into one of these rifts, the game is going to start by picking 3 random rooms and chain them back to back to back. At the end of the third kind of room, quote unquote, you're going to fight a mini boss. After that mini boss, you can do 3 more dungeon rooms, and then finally you're going to have a grand finale, kind of a main boss. So we're talking about 3 rooms. The first 2 rooms don't have a boss. Third room has a mini boss. Room 4 and 5 are not going to have any kind of bosses, and room 6 is going to have the finale. Now it gets more interesting. So within each one of these rooms, obviously you're going to have randomized enemies. And then I'm assuming the mini bosses and bosses will be randomized as well. But at the end of basic rooms 1, 2, 4, and 5, so these are the rooms that do not have bosses, you're going to walk up to a portal and you're going to have a choice. You're going to have to be able to choose what you'll encounter in the next room. Okay? So it's going to give you a little flexibility in how your runs go. Now, you have up to 3 lives to use on these dungeons. If you die 3 times, then you fail. The good news is, it's not a total waste. Whatever you looted, whatever you found, you still get to keep. So that's really, really cool. Now, there's going to be ways to make this more or less difficult. When you successfully beat Chaos Chambers, so these dungeons, you're going to earn something called Moon Orbs. It's going to be an in-game currency you can spend at the enchantment reroller station in Brighthoof. So yes, you can enchant and potentially re-enchant your gear and your weapons, basically. So again, if you play Diablo 3, the concept of enchanting special effects on weapons shouldn't be new to you. What's nice in this one is when you go to the re-enchanter and re-enchant your gear, you are not forced to keep the new enchant. So if the enchant was not better than what your original enchant was, you can choose to keep original. You still spent the currency, but it makes it a little easier to get that perfect min-maxed weapon. Now within the runs, you're going to have another special alternate currency, and they're going to be called crystals. So you're going to get these in a variety of ways. So the most common way they stated is at the end of each room, you're going to smash this rainbow glowing die and you're going to get these crystals. But additionally, you're going to have opportunities within each room. You're going to have special kind of side quests that you can choose to complete while you're clearing a room. And if you fulfill these kind of side missions, you're going to get bonus crystals. So one of the ideas is you want to get as many crystals within a run as you can. And it sounds like the developer had a lot of fun creating these various side quests. For example, they mentioned one where your goal is to protect the statue of Queen Butt Stallion, because, you know, Butt Stallion had to have a queen, before it's defaced by enemies. Or another alternative is smashing up a statue of the villainous Dragon Lord, which is kind of the big baddie in this game. Now, it is important that you never keep these crystals. So you start with 0, and you don't get to keep them from run to run. So what's the point? Well, it's all about blessings. Now, within the dungeon, you're going to find these altars, and you can basically spend crystals to gain buffs for the remainder of your run. And the more buffs you try to apply to yourself, the more they're going to cost. Now, the developer mentioned that these can vary from anything from increasing ammo capacity, crit damage, or there may be ones that significantly change up your playstyle. Now, one example buff that they mentioned would be really, really fun for a melee killing build and it basically increases melee attack speed and movement speed, so you can kind of just run around from enemies to enemies and just go batshit crazy with your melee weapon, which sounds really, really fun to me. Now, this brings us back to those portals I mentioned that pop up on non-boss end of room sections. So when this occurs, you're going to have 2 portals, and it can be one of 4 different portals. So one of them is going to have a crystal die that rewards you with more crystals. So more crystals, great, for more buffs. You can also get Queen Butt Stallion's favor via a helpful blessing. There's also a gear die that awards you new loot when you beat the encounter. And then finally, there's an add layer of challenge in the form of new curses. So this is the choosing the curse option is going to make the runs more difficult. This is going to be, I think, very popular when people want to min-max their setups and kind of really challenge themselves to see how far their builds can go. Now, these curses are quite literally the polar opposite of blessings. They're going to basically last the remainder of the run. They are fortunately marked as easy, medium, or hard, so you can kind of know in advance just how crippling they're going to be. But there is also a plus. So it's not only people that hate themselves and love, like Elden Ring and games like that. But basically, when you take on a curse, you're going to be rewarded with extra crystals in exchange for the higher difficulty. So it's something that definitely, as you get better gear and you make content easier and easier for yourself, you can keep pushing the difficulty and pushing your challenge level. And then if curses weren't bad enough, if you didn't hate yourself enough to make the game even more difficult, when you're about to enter a new room, you also have the option to use those crystals that you've been gathering to turn the next room into an elite encounter. And this is going to make enemies in the next room much more difficult, but in return, the loot drops will be improved if you actually survive. So I'm guessing this is going to be good when you're trying to farm the rarest of rare loots, those legendaries and whatever else they're going to come out with that's going to be above that. So this, in my opinion, is about the best case scenario of news for endgame content. I'm sure there's going to be a DLCs, there's going to be raid content, etc., bosses, you name it. But I feel this is great. They could easily add extra rooms, extra tile sets with the different DLCs, easily creating hundreds of hours of replayability, especially for multiplayer co-op. I cannot wait to play this over and over with you guys on stream to the same level that I did on Outriders. I think this is going to be amazing. Do sound off in the comments below. What do you think of this announcement? Are you as hyped and excited as I am? Let me know below. And again, if you enjoy this content, make sure to drop a like. Make sure to keep tabs on the channel. Again, I love looter shooters and RPGs, but looter shooters have really been a big cornerstone. This is what kind of made this channel what it is today. So I've just been waiting for the next big game that really reels me in for that crazy co-op, and I just have a feeling this is gonna be it, guys. So looking forward to it with you guys. As always, thank you for all the supports, the likes, the subscriptions, and I will see you in the next video.